wrecking yard. I met my true love down in the wrecking yard. I met my true love called a wreck Chevrolet, which I see every day.
Hi, this is Tony. Welcome to another episode of The Wrecking Yard. I am still the head cheese around here. Today's episode is with an old friend of mine, Gene Owens, singer-songwriter, band member, and all-around groovy dude. This episode is going to have a few more notes before it than usual. As much as I like to avoid politics in these podcasts, sometimes it pops up. And in this one, there's a little more than usual, and that's even after I cut a lot of it out. So I don't really care what your politics are. If you enjoy listening to the show, that's great. If you don't enjoy listening to the show, then don't listen to it. In the future, I will still endeavor to avoid politics as a subject in general, but I can't help it if it occasionally pops up. Gene is a very socially conscious guy, so I guess it just was logical to assume that some of the conversation would go in that direction. I tried to do a good job of keeping it in the arena of music, and I think we did okay as far as that's concerned. About 30 or 40 minutes into the podcast, you may hear some very strange edits that sound like perhaps we started tripping on acid in the middle of the interview. No, we did not. A subject came up that I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about very much, so I had to do some fancy editing to make sure that what I told him doesn't really get out to the general populace. And I'm sorry I can't tell you what it is. Some of you probably could guess, I don't know. But there you have it. Also, since the last time I've made a podcast, which is quite a while now, I believe it was the Len Price 3 back in April, we lost a friend of the podcast, Andrew Pijak, whom you heard on the episode with the legendary Stardust Cowboy, has shuffled on to the next dimension. I'm very sad about this. I only got a chance to hang out with him a few times, and I had a couple of fairly long phone conversations with him, and he was just a really, really interesting person, the kind of person that you would just naturally want to spend more time with, and that's not going to happen now, and that makes me sad. Also, I wanted to mention that I realized that there was a long time between the last podcast and this one, and basically there's no reason except for the fact that this project of mine has just become more expensive than I expected it to, and I don't really know how to keep it going the way I'd like to without asking for money from folks who have more of it than they need. I know that sounds stupid, but I know you people exist out there. So there's a good possibility I may start some sort of a crowdfunding. I'm not really comfortable doing that. I don't like doing that. But this project is something that I would really like to go forward. And if I can raise a fairly small amount of money, I'm thinking somewhere around $3,000, I can keep the site running for about another year. It will afford me the traveling expenses I need in order to make 4 or 5 short trips to visit and talk with people who I think would be interesting to visit and talk to. And keep in mind that a lot of the people that I want to talk to are not exactly spring chickens, so seems as though time is a factor here. I still haven't definitively decided to do it, but if I do, here's your warning. Gene, my guest today, is a member of the band, probably the main member of the band Faithless Town, a band that's starting to make a little bit of noise in Los Angeles after spending a few years in a less entertainment-centric town. We'll talk about a lot of that stuff in the podcast. I met Gene when I was working on the movie Red Eye. We both worked on it for a few months. We had many a deep philosophical conversation about music, specifically me trying to convince him that Elvis was indeed an artist, even though he did not write his own songs. This was a running argument that we had, but I think he may have come around on it. I brought it up in the interview, and I hope that everybody out there enjoys it. Gene is really one of the nicest people I've ever met, actually. So here it is, without further ado, my conversation with Gene Owens of Faithless Town.
The place, I mean, it's insane. If you looked it up online and all.
I did. I looked up and I like
straight up looks like the
menu
Apple
just
store.
went on forever and ever.
And I don't know what stores you've been going to, but some of them still operate like they were operating during the medicinal times.
Uh-huh.
You have to like check in and you have to leave your ID, and there's like a guide with like an M16 behind a bulletproof.
All of them have been like that so far.
Yeah, so this one is like literally you just show an ID and you go in, and it's like you're at the Apple store in the mall. And it's like a storefront that's open, you know, like you can see into it from the street. It's all glass.
Really? Now that's weird.
Yeah, like it's just a store.
Yeah, usually they're behind.
Yeah.
Because I went to a couple of them out when I was in Las Vegas a couple months ago, and they were cheaper. They don't have that 33% tax.
Yeah.
That kind of got me, because you'd see something and it'd be like $20, and then you can get it. It's actually like $26, and you're like going, damn. But still, I'd rather have that than where I'm living now. Where I hate Indiana.
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
I can imagine, man.
Well, you might be able to imagine.
Well, just
after
imagine
your time in Atlanta.
Yeah, well, and I also grew up in Pennsylvania too, but I mean,
Right.
Indiana it just always goes red.
It only went blue once, and it was because of me.
You were the vote. They were the tipping.
The first time Obama won.
Yeah.
Indiana was the last state to report, because nobody could believe that it somehow had turned blue.
Yeah.
Because it's Trump country.
Yeah.
All
it's
the
terrifying.
way. Dude, I mean, it's not just. I don't want to get too political, but everybody in Indiana is really nice. If you had, we're going. If your car broke down in Indiana, you know, or if you like fell down and dropped all your groceries, or one of life's little irritations, within 10 seconds somebody would help you. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
But, you know, they might lecture you on illegal immigration while they're helping you change your tire, you know.
Yeah.
And this Trump thing just got a hold, like, really hard.
It's
really
terrifying,
hard
man. It's
you know.
Yeah, it's so scary.
You know, some of these people, I think they masturbate while watching The Handmaid's Tale. It's so bad.
Yeah, you know, I wonder how, you know, all the things like these crazy white supremacist groups and things like that have come out of the woodwork during, you know, this, you know, Trump didn't create, but in some way he kind of legitimizes, and is enabled. Like, I wonder, do those guys sit around and they watch like the Indiana Jones trilogy and they're like rooting for the Nazis?
Could be.
They're like hoping.
I hope his hand heals.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The Nazis are always the bad guys.
Well, you know, the thing is I have friends on the right, and they are not, for the most part, racially insensitive. I have a couple that are, but you know, I've never made a blanket statement like, you know, all you people on the right are racist, or all you people. What I have always said, though, is that although the Republican Party is not racist by nature, they do offer an umbrella for those people to stand under.
Absolutely, and now more than ever. Now it's almost more than an umbrella.
They don't have to say anything. All they have to do is hold the umbrella, and they'll say a buzzwordy type thing. Like I had this figured out a long time ago, but when you got some guy up there and he's pounding his fist, and this is one of my big pet peeves is the phrase "big government." When you have some guy going, "We're going to get rid of big government," everybody in that audience is cheering. But every one of them is thinking something different. One of them is thinking, "Oh boy, that must mean he's going to get rid of the Jews." And then the next guy's thinking, "Oh boy, that's great. That means he's going to get rid of Social Security." And the next guy's saying, "Oh boy, that's great. The Mexicans are going back home." Every one of them thinks big government means something different. Mm-hmm. It means what they want it to mean to themselves. And because this guy up on the podium says big business, he got them all in one fell swoop without actually have to saying anything specific. So he's sort of silently holding that umbrella, letting people think what they want while they're staying dry.
Yep.
And that's the way I've looked at it. You know, people call me a hard leftist, but I prefer to think of myself as a pragmatic realist. I just understand that the world sucks and it's not going to really get better before I die. So I'm stuck with what I'm stuck with.
Yeah. Might as well make the best of it, man.
And I don't have any answers. I mean,
all you can do is just try to make the world a little bit better with whatever influence you have.
Right. You know, I'm just trying to be nice to people now. I've pissed off enough people on Facebook. You know, I get unfriended fairly.
I see your arguments. Yeah.
But you'll notice I don't actually argue. I'll just post something, and if those piranhas want to go for it, that's fine. But I mostly just if it's political, I'm usually posting it because I think it's fun.
I've given up even posting anything, even sharing stories. I think the last time I shared a story from Forbes magazine, so pretty middle of the road.
That's just rag.
Yeah.
I know.
And I had a lady who was like my mom's accountant, who I don't think I had ever actually met in person, but sent me a Facebook request years previous, and it was. The Forbes article was titled something like, "If capitalism follows on the path that it's on now, most of the world will be in, experiencing extreme famine and droughts within the next 50 years. There just won't be enough resources for people. The way it's distributed now," was like the argument the article was trying to make. And this lady, she doesn't comment anything about it. She just puts, "You need to learn your history." And
they always say things like that.
Yeah, people I learned really after getting really frustrated trying to have intelligent conversations, in discourse on social media. It's impossible. Yeah. Everybody they just give you their tirade. They don't read what you're saying, and it's not like a give and take like a conversation in person. So, I don't think anybody's mine's ever going to be changed.
No, I don't think theirs are either, and that's kind of why I stopped. When I first got on Facebook first couple of years, I got in tons and tons of arguments, and I finally just said, this isn't really bringing me any joy. And I've completely stayed away from Twitter because I think Twitter is like a cesspool of cruelty, and I just, I think Howard Stern is probably a nice guy, but I don't listen to him because I don't think he's funny, and I don't really think that making fun of people with disabilities is funny. I just don't.
It might get you elected to president, but it's not funny.
Yeah, but that's the thing is I just don't find it funny. I don't find intentional cruelty towards somebody else that you're approaching from a lofty perch. I don't find that funny.
We just went down the rabbit hole of Facebook and Nazis
and
Trump.
So Twitter just seems to me like nobody needs my thoughts uncensored. I mean, really, it's good that 10 minutes passes before I type something.
I don't use Twitter at all. Like, I literally just use it for the band, and that's really the only reason I even use social media.
Yeah, I just mostly just use it to keep track of folks, and now that I got this website thing going, I'll post stuff about that. I've discovered that the people I didn't like in high school, I was right.
You still don't like them.
Yeah, not really. And now there's some of them, because I know there'll be some that'll be listening to this, and I don't want them to think I'm talking about them. But there are some that turned out to be, nicer folks than I remembered. I wasn't, a lot of it was my fault. I wasn't the most social person in school. And plus, I went to 17 different schools in 14 years, so I never really had a chance to
So because you're moving a lot?
Yeah. All within like 10 miles.
Wow.
Yeah.
But always a different school district or something that would take you to a different
Okay,
school.
I grew up mostly in a town called Carmel, which is a north side suburb of Indianapolis. I went to every single school in that district. Every single one, including both junior high schools and the Catholic school.
And that's because your parents were moving?
They kept thinking that the next house was going to be the one that made them happy. And so they'd get a house, they'd be unhappy, they'd go, that other house over 2 miles that way, let's get that one. And so we just kept moving, and we kept moving, and eventually the problem was that my parents didn't really like each other, and they should never have gotten married to begin with, but they had to buy a bunch of houses to find us out. Yeah, they divorced when I was like 10, and that kind of started the adventure right there.
Gotcha.
I had an okay childhood up to that point. I had some weirdness and stuff, but nothing too bad. But after the divorce, man, things just greased wheels to hell. Just like it just took off. So they just kept thinking, this next house is going to do it, and then they finally had my brother because they thought having another baby was going to make them happy. I mean, they tried everything. What happened was this. I was born in 61. My parents got married in 60. They graduated in 59. They just hurry up, because it was the 50s and that's what you did. Everybody was married, blah 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 blah. They had me immediately, and then all of a sudden the 60s happened. And so my parents, they're saddled with a couple of kids and a partner they're not crazy about. And they're picking up Time magazine, and here's all these hippies fucking anybody they want out on the West Coast, and the beatniks out in New York are fucking anybody they want behind the Espresso House. And my parents are going, God damn it! That's seriously. That's about what happened. Yeah. And my dad. My dad grew up in a household where there wasn't a lot of love. I'm not to say he wasn't abused or anything, but his parents just didn't know how to. They were from that generation. They just didn't know. Yeah. And my grandpa didn't want to talk to the kids so much that instead of giving them an allowance, he owned a couple gas stations. He took a money tray out of one of the registers, and he filled it with money and put it on the fridge. He says, when you need something, go get the money from the fridge and go get whatever the hell you want, leave me alone. And that was their allowance, was all the money they wanted on top of the fridge whenever they wanted it.
Which is like most kids' dream.
I know.
That's all they want from the relationship.
It sounded great to me. Yeah. It sounded great to me. Now, I had access to all the drugs I wanted for a couple of years in high school. My mom remarried a crazy dentist who was also a drug addict. And he was so crazy, in fact, it was kind of a big-ish house, and there were 3 bathrooms, and he stockpiled all 3 bathroom medicine cabinets with drugs. I mean, we had Xanax, Percodan, Percocet, Valium, fresh Quaaludes, like real ones that you would get at the store or the pharmacy. Yeah. We had Dilaudid, all this stuff. As much as we wanted, and my stepdad did not put a lock on any of the medicine cabinets. What he did instead, and this is how I know he's crazy. What he did instead was he bought us a physician's desk reference. He says, "Here, you ever get sick, just look it up, and it'll probably be in the cabinet. Just get what you need."
Well, I mean, he at least wanted you to be informed.
Dude,
let you know what you were taking.
That is how I built my record collection, because I was really never into pills and powders that much.
Just selling that stuff?
Yes.
You were trading it? Yeah.
I was selling it and trading it for albums.
Oh, my God.
There was this one dude at work, I'd sell him some Percodans, and I actually found out later he was melting them down with a spoon. And I was like, oh, my God, that's really serious stuff. I said, but I was able to buy Darkness on the Edge of Town because of him, so... Fine, do whatever you want. One of my favorite Springsteens, maybe my favorite Springsteen album, Darkness on the Edge of Town. As many people's. The other way I know he's crazy, and I'm not kidding you, dude. I'm not kidding you. He kept a Polaroid camera on the toilet tank, and he would take pictures of his dumps every day. And then he had a magic marker, and on the back of each Polaroid, he would write down what he ate the day before.
so you could figure out if there was any correlation between the shapes and sizes with what he ate. And then occasionally he would find one that he was convinced looked like someone. He'd go, hey, come here, look at this. Now doesn't that look like Groucho Marx? He'd like point down the toilet.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Did he keep all the Polaroids like in a
book? And when my mom had people come over, he would bust out this book and go, hey, look at these. Licorice.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's you should. There's a book in there or something.
Oh, dude, that is just
there's a poop book in there.
Yeah, I know. I tried doing it once, but they all look like Dick Cheney to me.
There's Dick Cheney with corn in his head.
Yeah,
There's Dick
exactly.
Cheney with some tortilla chips. Oh, gross.
How'd that string get in there? Did I have a roast?
Gross. Well, speaking of records, what are you listening to these days? You get anything new that's actually come out?
I am actually. Look, I'm 57, so most people my age don't listen to anything. I still enjoy listening to new music, and what I get tired of is people, particularly in my age range, they go, well, they don't make good music anymore, and there's none being made, this and that. Whereas I go the other direction. I think there's probably more good music being made now than ever. The problem is finding it. Mm-hmm. Because, look, there used to be this filter system. You'd go out in your garage, you'd practice with some dudes, you might get good. If you got good, some guy might hear you. You might become your manager. He might manage you for a while. He may or may not get you to a label. If he does, they may or may not sign you. I mean, by the time you put something out for the public to hear, years could pass. You could have written 3 or 4 different albums worth of material. But there was that great filter, and that kept out, like, the chocolate rains. Do you know what I mean? And
whereas now anybody with a computer or a cell phone can make an album.
Yes.
You could have GarageBand on your iPhone. You could record an album and release it today.
Yes. Yes. And that to me
it's
is
so oversaturated.
Right. And even when that filter existed, there were too many fucking albums to keep track of. Now that filter is gone, that wall is down, and anybody can record anything and put it out for anybody to hear in 10 minutes. The music is out there. You just you got to dig, and I don't have that much time.
Yeah.
Do you?
No.
Do you have time to like get stuck on a 5-hour YouTube rabbit hole just trying to find a band that sounds somewhat like the Byrds?
I'll tell you, we're unfortunate living in LA. There's still 2 really cool radio stations here. The KCSN, the Northridge Cow State station, which I think is 88.5 or 88.1, and then KCRW, and they both played I'll just be turned on to new music, just listen to those stations.
Right.
Which is a novel thing at this point, to actually be able to hear new things you like on the radio.
Radio, dude, is so different. When I was a kid, we'd hop in Grandma's house, or hop in the car to go to Grandma's house. For the next hour, you heard the Kinks and the Beatles and the Who and the Stones, and by the time you got to Grandma's, you'd had an education. You're like, holy shit, that was some great songs. And then I remember it was like the mid-'70s or so when FM figured out that they didn't have to be freeform, that they could have a playlist too. And that's when, the quote-unquote classic rock thing started coming into play. And then American Graffiti came out, and a bunch of them branched off into the oldie station thing. There were no such thing as oldie stations for the most part until the...
I know they came in the 80s. They were there in the 80s for sure.
Well, there was, when American Graffiti came out, there was a huge boom in people wanting to listen to oldies. I can't tell you how huge American Graffiti was. That soundtrack was like that Herb Albert Whipped Cream album. It was like if you bought a house in the 70s, it came with that record already in it. Everybody had it.
I mean, the oldie stations, that's all my parents listened to in the car. It was all that old stuff, the Supremes, Temptations, Frankie
it
Valli.
It wasn't old stuff when I was listening to it, unfortunately. But you know, the thing was I learned about old stuff from the 50s because of that, though. Because I mean, I was into American Graffiti. It was a fun movie for a kid, and the music was very upbeat and kind of exciting. And then all of a sudden, my mom was listening to the station that's playing Chuck Berry and Buddy Holly all day long, and so that's kind of how I got in. I got indoctrinated into various forms of music in sort of a very uniform way. I mean, I have like touch points. Boom. Ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. Like, I hated country music as a kid. My parents made fun of it.
And that's probably when country music was at its best.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My parents, you know, that was what hillbillies listened to. We had more class than that. We were listening to Cat Stevens and Richard Harris and
now the stuff that passes itself off as countries. I mean, it's.
I know. There's good stuff out there. Again, there's good stuff out there, but you got to dig and you dig and you dig to find it. So. And then finally, I was on my way to visit my girlfriend in law school, and I had a record store at the time, and I grabbed some cassettes to listen to, and I was like, Hank Williams. Yeah, I know I keep hearing I should listen to this shit. I guess I'll do this. So, you know, I'm halfway there, and I'm just like, how do I know all these fucking songs already? And I did. It was like every song I go, oh yeah, I know that song. Oh yeah, I know that song. And by the time it was over, I realized I already knew 2/3 of this album, having never listened to any country music in my life at all. I'm like, how does that happen? And I just came to the realization that music is such a fabric. You know, when you go to the grocery store, when you're in an elevator, in someone else's car, when you're watching TV.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting bombarded with songs constantly.
Yeah.
And I watched a documentary on Richard Rodgers, you know, Rodgers and Hart, Rodgers and Hammerstein. And while I was watching it, they're like, well, you know, in 1942, he blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, he wrote that? I know that fucking song. And by the time it was over, it was the same thing. I'm sitting there going like, that motherfucker wrote all of those goddamn songs, really? And I kind of have this thing where there's some people, I think, that their songs are already imprinted on their DNA as you're coming out.
Yeah.
You already got them. You know, you picked them up at some record store between the cervix and the vagina. You know, and you say like, yeah, I know you're cheating heart.
Great radio stations in that stretch between the cervix and the vagina.
Oh, there have to be, and I'm sure probably some really good bass.
So, are you going to tell me what happened since I left LA?
Let's go. Let's start at the beginning.
Start at the beginning.
I met you working on a movie.
Yeah.
Red Eye.
Wes Craven's Red Eye.
Right. Now, I don't think I worked at the actual airport for a week before we ended up at the studio. Did I meet you at the airport, or was it not until we got to the studio?
I remember us doing like 2 days at I think it was the Ontario airport.
Right.
But I felt like we did that, like maybe those were reshoots or something.
We went there after.
We went there after, yeah.
Before and after.
Okay,
both.
so I was only at the airport after we did all the stuff at Raleigh Studios.
Well, you were lucky.
Yeah.
Okay, because the thing about working Red Eye out in Ontario was that it was a night shoot, which most people hate anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't care. The thing was you had to drive through rush hour to get there at 5 o'clock, and then you would wrap at like 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and you'd have to drive rush hour all the way back home.
Yeah.
And it was like an hour and a half away with no traffic. I get there, the first day is on a Monday, and I get in there, blah, 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 and at the end of the night, the guy says, can you come back tomorrow? I said, okay, yeah, sure, I can come back tomorrow. I said, but listen, I have another job, and if you're going to need me past like Wednesday, I need to know now, so because I can work those days if you want me to, but I need to tell my job that as soon as possible so they can find someone to replace me. No, tomorrow's all we need. I'm like, okay. So next day I come there and I get in, I sign out. He says, can you be here tomorrow? I said, I can be here tomorrow. I said, but do you remember what I said yesterday? I have another job. Tomorrow's the last day I can show up unless you tell me now that you need me the other 2 days of the week. If you do, you can have me. I just need to know now.
Yeah.
So that I can tell them at work I need those 2 days. And he says, no, tomorrow's going to be it. I'm like, okay. Next day, signing out. Guess what he says?
Can you be here tomorrow?
Can you be here tomorrow? I said, no. And he fucking put his hands on the desk kind of loud. And he goes, what do you mean, no? He said, you know, you are, when you take this job, you know, you are bound, if we need reshoots or coverage, you're bound to show up. And I said, I told you Monday, I told you Tuesday, I said I could be here every day this week if you want. All you had to do was tell me so I could take the days off from my other job. And you did not do that. And he got really shitty with me. He said I wasn't going to work on Red Eye again. He said I wasn't going to work for DreamWorks again.
He was one of the PAs?
Yeah. And he's and he said he was going to report me and do all this shit. And I said, dude, I'm sorry it came to this. But I told you every day this week that you could have me. And you chose to say no.
But it didn't matter because you ended up working the rest of the whole movie.
Well, that's the weird thing. A week passes, and then I get a call. It says, hey, you've been booked on Red Eye. And I'm like, well, that's funny. They told me I was never going to work for them again. He says, but it's not at the airport. It's it's at the Raleigh Studios, which was only about a mile from my house. I was just like, oh, that's cool.
I know. It was so awesome. I think I could ride my bike there from where I was living.
So I showed up, and that PA or AD or whoever said it, I was never going to work for them again, saw me and just kind of rolled his eyes. I'm like, what? I get on the plane, and that's when which
was just the inside of the airplane built out on a soundstage.
On stilts so they can shake it. And I get on the plane, and they're putting people in their seats, and that's when I see Wes Craven pull the guy over, and he goes, bah, bah, bah. And they came over to me and goes, are you available for the next 2 months? I'm like, huh?
It was a sweet gig. I mean, that was a sweet...
He says, Wes likes your glasses. I'm like, well, okay. He says, so you sit here. And you remember where I sat, directly in front of the two principal actors for the whole movie. All because of my glasses. And so I ended up getting the best job I've ever had.
And you got kind of like buddy-buddy with Cillian Murphy. Yeah. Is it Cillian or Killian?
I don't know.
We still don't know.
Because,
we worked with them.
It's Celtic and Celtic both.
Okay.
So what are you going to do?
I say Killian.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. He's real big into Frank Zappa and Neil Young. I was reading the Neil Young book at the time. I remember I was reading the Neil Young book. I was reading a book called Hitman about the music business and all its dirty laundry. And I'll bet you remember this. I was reading that Dr. Seuss biography.
Okay, yeah.
Remember? Because everyone was making fun of me because I had a Dr. Seuss book.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I think when I left L.A., I gave you my Bob Dylan Chronicles, too, maybe.
You did?
Yeah.
I still have it.
Okay.
No bed bugs.
That one made it.
Yes! Yeah, they were just like, oh, that stuff's too hardy. I'm not chewing on this anymore.
Yeah.
Let's go over there. Maybe he's got a book on the TV show Survivor.
That's awesome. But Red Eye was so cool, man. We had so much fun working on that.
I know. It was great.
I got to meet Wes Craven when he was still with us. Rest his soul. I mean, one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. I love the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
Well, you know that I kind of got in trouble on that set because I kept falling asleep. I had diabetes at the time. I didn't know I had diabetes at the time, and so my blood sugar was like basically playing tricks on me. And if I sat still for more than a couple of minutes, I sound like a bear making a cappuccino. And the cameraman, he's shooting like right behind me, so you're getting like a portion of my cheek or a little bit of my hairline or whatever. And he would see me about to fall asleep, and he would kick me, so I wouldn't fall asleep.
Yeah.
And when he would kick me, I'd go, I'm not asleep! And they go, cut! So I was like fucking things up because I kept falling asleep. And this happened on a couple of other shows later on, too. And
you finally got diagnosed? And now you take insulin?
And I take naps. So
yeah, insulin and naps?
No, I don't take insulin.
Okay.
It's not quite that bad. But, I fell asleep when I was working on Dreamgirls. We were in the audience, and I was sitting like right underneath, like 3 or 4 feet underneath Beyonce and Jamie Foxx, who had like a little privacy booth or whatever you call those things on the side of the stage, on the side of the auditorium, and I think they were recording Eddie Murphy's portions. I fell asleep in the audience during that, and I'm like snoring like this. and I hear this voice like screaming at me, like going, "I don't believe the fucking unprofessional behavior I'm seeing around here." And I'm like jerk up like this, my eyes open, and Jamie Foxx is like in my face, and he's like going, "I can't believe the people they hire falling asleep in the job, blah 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 blah." And I'm like going, "Fuck, fuck, fuck." And then he starts laughing. He goes, "I remember you from Ray." Yeah, then he just went back to his seat.
Oh, man.
So he was laughing. So, well, anyway, now what I remember is, now when we were working on Red Eye, didn't you also at the time, weren't you booked on a show that you were going to use your guitar and you couldn't do that show because of Red Eye?
Man, that sounds vaguely
I have a really
familiar.
good memory.
Yeah, you have a really
shit.
good memory. That's quite possible.
Because I remember you complaining. You had a show where you finally were able to use your guitar.
Yeah.
And then Red Eye said, no, we need...
Yeah, we need you for the next 2 months.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's really possible. But, it's all good. I mean, maybe that would have been my big break, That could have... I could have been Justin Bieber before there was a Justin Bieber.
I told you should have, made hay with that lady with the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Get you on that show a little more often.
Yeah. Instead, I stayed on Red Eye. I don't think you could ever see me. I think at one point you see my arm because I wore this brown Western wear shirt. And I saw a glimpse of it once in one of the airport scenes.
Well, you see me a couple times, not as many as you would think, seeing as how I was sitting like right in front of them. But you do see me a couple times, but you mostly see me in the airport when that lady spills the coffee.
Yeah, that's
on
right.
Rachel McAdams. I'm like right behind her, and I turn around and go like, woo! And if you take a snapshot of that, it looks like I'm staring at her ass.
The star of that movie was Noodle Boy, if you remember Noodle Boy.
I do remember.
The guy, I forget his actual name, but we called him Noodle Boy because in the scene he was supposed to be eating like, lo mein or something.
He ran over my foot in his car.
Was it the Trans Am? Because he had.
It might have been.
He had a replica of Kit from Knight Rider.
No, it was another car.
Okay.
He he was working out in the 29 Palms with that Marine thing. Do you remember that? This might have been after you left.
Yeah, that might have been after I left.
Okay, so okay, back to Red Eye. Now during Red Eye, you gave me a copy of a CD. Was that like? At that time, was that your first and only?
That was the second CD I'd ever made, second album I made, and it was under my name, Gene Owens.
And you had one before that?
I had one before that I made when I was 18. I think the first one I put out in 2001. I started when I was 18, I finished when I was 21. That was like my first album.
As we mention these, you can mention, if you want, if they're still available.
Sure, yeah.
And the name of them.
Yeah, so my first album was Gene Owens,
okay.
Beautifully Strange. And that came out in 2001. It is available on all the streaming stuff, Spotify, Napster, any of those things. You can purchase it, I think, still through Amazon.
Uh-huh.
And then the second album, the one that I put out right before we met, was Fugitive Moments.
Right.
Also a solo album under my name, Gene Owens. And yeah, that's the same deal. You could find that everywhere. And for a brief period of time during those albums, I was managed by Ed Brooks, Mel Brooks' son, was who was dabbling into like music entertainment management, and he managed me. And we had lunch a couple times. He came, hung out at my apartment. He's actually a really good guitar player. Little Mel Brooks' son, Ed Brooks. He ripped on some Beatles Blackbird. But yeah, nothing really came out of it. He was supposed to be pitching some of my songs to like TV and film plate licensing stuff. Nothing ever materialized. I think eventually Ed just kind of got bored with trying to be a music, manager.
Okay, so now right after Red Eye, and I think I saw you live once or twice, right around that time, and then all of a sudden you decided to up and leave town.
I left town, man.
You flew out of this town fast.
Super fast.
Really fast.
I think I gave like 30 days notice on my lease.
Fastly.
And I just left.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went through it was like the equivalent of a divorce.
Right.
Because I had been with my girlfriend at that time for 8 years. And I was young. Like I met her when I was like 16 or 17.
Love is serious when you're that young.
Yeah, it's serious, but it's like, but you don't even know who the fuck you are yet, you know.
But it's still serious and it's still heavy. And
Yeah.
it still slaps you around. No, it doesn't care how old you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so codependent too by the end of it that when we broke up, I was just out of my mind. I was just kind of insane. I had a nervous breakdown.
Well, I remember trying to talk you into staying. I remember saying, you know, I don't think this scorched earth policy is what you want to do here, because I mean I don't know how you ended up in Atlanta unless that's where you ran out of gas. Okay, but to go from Los Angeles to Atlanta is a big jump, at the very least sideways, if not backwards, for someone who's trying to make it in the music business.
Yeah. Yep. It was I put my dog in my passenger seat and I loaded as much that would fit in my car, which was like my guitars. I had a keyboard which ended up melting on the trip out there. All the keys just melted together. It wasn't anything nice, but it still sucked. And then, you know, whatever would fit in my car. And I literally just drove east. I had some friends that were moving from here to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, well, worst case scenario, you come stay with us while you get on your feet. And if you like Florida, you can just, you know, get a place down there. So
I seem to remember Florida being in the conversation at that point.
So they were moving to Orlando. So I did end up meeting up with them on the road, and we hung out. We tried to go to Graceland. I saw like the outside of Graceland. I didn't get to go in because it was like Sunday at 7 and they'd already closed. Saw the Grand Canyon, whatever. Stopped in Atlanta to visit a friend of mine that I'd worked with at a video store out here in LA, and fell in love with Atlanta. I think it was because I was newly single. And there's lots of beautiful Southern women.
Good barbecue.
I was vegetarian at the time, but
oh no!
Still am. Now I eat seafood, so pescatarian, I guess. Yeah, so I ended up going to Orlando, checking out, realized it was definitely not for me.
Florida's not for me.
Florida is not for many people.
It's kind of like a runoff drain for the rest of the country.
I mean, I've never been to Miami, but I've been to most of the other parts. Maybe Miami is its own thing.
It looks like it is.
Yeah.
And the Keys look nice.
Keys look great.
But if I lived in the Keys, I wouldn't want anyone from outside coming in there. Get the hell out. This is my house, you know.
Have you seen Bloodline?
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
That's what the Keys makes me think of. But yeah, so I spent like a weekend in Orlando. I was like, this isn't going to work. I was like the only guy that didn't have my shirt unbuttoned to my navel and didn't have a gold chain. And it just looked like, it just wasn't my scene. Oh, good. So I ended up going back up to Atlanta, and before I knew it, man, 11 years passed. I played in bands. I started a band called Faithless Town, which in 2008, which was like a very alt-country kind of vibe. We had a fiddle player, and we did a 5-song EP just called Faithless Town, self-titled, and that's also, you can find that on the interwebs. But it was, it was very kind of more like Graham Parsons alt-country-esque, with pedal steel and fiddle and acoustic guitars, and then I just kept making music under that moniker, Faithless Town. And now it's been 10 years that we've been making music.
Sidetrack 2 things real quick. One is, okay, so you moved to Atlanta, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, I don't have to deal with all that fucking LA rush hour traffic anymore. Woohoo! I've driven through Atlanta twice during rush hour over the last 2 years.
Oh my God.
It was fucking horrible.
It's worse. No.
It was fucking horrible. I didn't move but maybe an inch a minute for like 2 hours.
Dude, Atlanta traffic is worse than LA. Nobody will acknowledge that. LA gets the worst rap when it comes to traffic. But I swear, especially in the past like 4 years, Atlanta traffic, it's worse than
horrific.
LA.
It really was. It was horrific.
My last day job there, I was working as a sales rep for a liquor distributor, and I would drive all around the city, and I literally would just sit in traffic all day long. It's not even rush hour. It just starts. It could be 10 in the morning. There's traffic. 1 p.m. There's traffic.
I know. I really like the way that the roads are clearly marked, because with all that traffic, you may have to switch lanes pretty quick, and you want to make sure you get the right one because you ain't getting back.
I just don't think the city, they just don't have the infrastructure yet to accommodate all the population. I mean, it's the year that I left to move back here, the population grew by 100,000 people added to the city. Right. And now it's up like almost 2 million.
Well, yeah, a lot of the movie industry has moved down near there, so.
Movie and tech and all kinds of new money pouring into the city.
All right, the other side note I was going to make is, so you went to Graceland.
Yeah.
You know, some of our heaviest conversations were about Elvis and me trying to convince you that he didn't have to write his own songs to be considered a true artist, and you fought against that. Have you come around on the subject of Elvis at all?
Well, I have to say that I have. I've warmed up to Elvis. I mean, I now see Elvis. I give him the respect he's due for being so influential, and really, I know, people say Elvis stole, black people's music. He stole rock and roll from people like Chuck Berry or other people that were doing it before, black performers, African American performers. And there's probably some truth to that. But Elvis definitely put it together in this package that kind of blew the doors open and brought it to the masses through mainstream media. Just with his look and his style and his swagger and his voice. So, I mean, I appreciate what Elvis...
All right.
What he did. And I just read this great Elvis biography too.
There's a bunch.
The one by Jerry Hopkins.
Oh.
That it was like the 2 books he did, and they eventually put it into one.
The best
volume.
one is the Peter Gorelnik books. Those two are the best ones. But here's the thing about Elvis. Yeah, I've had this conversation with other people in the past, and you can say that he usurped musical influences from other places. But name me a musician who hasn't. I mean, if you're a musician and you play music, you do it because you were inspired to do it by somebody else, and you can't help but pick up from what you listen to. But I've had people tell me, well, Elvis stole their music so he could get rich. And I'm going, look, Chuck Berry wasn't rich when Elvis wasn't Elvis. So it's not like he could look at Chuck Berry and go, I want what that guy's got. What, a station wagon, like with a shit on the roof, going from town to town? Chuck Berry was not. There was no precedent for Elvis. That was the thing about Elvis. There was no precedent for Elvis. People say that Frank Sinatra was a precedent, but Frank Sinatra was singing ballads, and ballads had been sung for a long time. Elvis was presenting something on a platter. He was like the first Ethiopian restaurant in town. Once he brought the thing out, goes, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Everyone went like, I mean, Frank Sinatra came in because he was singing. Elvis brought something new to the table.
He really did. He did. Yeah. And I think also, he created that rockabilly, that sound. I don't think anybody was doing that.
Well, here's the thing, is if you listen to some like Western swings from the late 40s and early 50s, some of that shit is as fast as the Ramones. I mean, those dudes are like they're like taking off like a shot. So all of those elements were there. And I asked my mom once, I said, because I got really into R&B for a while. And I was listening to a lot of like really old stuff like the Five Royales and Wynonie Harris and Roy Brown and stuff. And I'm like, Mom, there was all this really cool black music, before Elvis. Did you and Dad, did you guys listen to any of that stuff? And my mom said with a straight face, she said, we didn't know black people made music back then because they were kept separate. If you were a white artist, you were on one chart. If you were a black artist, you were on what was, I think, the race charts or something. They had different names for them. But you literally were on a different chart entirely just based on the color of your skin. And also based on that, you weren't getting played on white radio stations.
Of course. I mean, this is pre-desegregation.
Yeah. My mom said she had no clue that there were black people out there playing music. She said the only black person she'd ever seen on TV was Nat King Cole, and she says that was like in passing.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know about that, but he had a TV show for a really short amount of time, and the sponsors just said, we don't really want to sell our product to black people. And so he kept losing sponsors until finally he just didn't have a show anymore. But he had like really, really like cool jazz people on there. And some of the only footage you'll find of some of these people. But yeah, my mom just had no clue whatsoever. And my mom even told me that she liked Elvis just fine, but she liked Ricky Nelson better. So,
So I've come around to Elvis. I mean, obviously you can't. I don't think Elvis really wrote a song his entire career.
He co-wrote a couple, or
co-wrote with quotation marks,
right.
Yeah. But you know, he had the voice, he had the look,
he did have the
he
voice,
had the charisma,
he had the hair.
He definitely had the hair.
He really had the hair.
He had the moves.
I love that hair.
He had the hips and the karate kicks and all that stuff, man. So I give him the respect that he's due. You know, I've warmed up to him.
All right.
And I listen to Elvis.
That was because that was one of the things. All these years later, I just had that seed back there. I said, if I ever see Gene again, because I told you at the time, I said, dude, as you get older, you become a little more okay with inputting things that you didn't think you were going to input before.
Yeah.
You know, like I used to hate reggae. Man, I hated reggae like very few other artists.
Uh-huh.
I hated it. Now I love it. You know, I
yeah.
mean, depending on, you know, time period and stuff. And I like the more trippy stuff because, you know, I like to smoke weed while I listen to music. So, but yeah, I mean, I used to hate country. I was never particularly fond of jazz. And now, you know, I pretty much am open to anything.
Well,
you know,
that's
one of the
cool,
reasons
man.
I started doing this podcast
Yeah.
is I just figured I don't know everything. Why don't I go see if I can learn some more stuff?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's awesome, man. And it's great that you're getting more open-minded as you get older.
For
most people, it's the opposite.
I was always fairly open-minded, but my deal is I still like to listen to music, and I don't want to just listen to stuff I already have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to discover new music.
You know, it used to be easy. The radio would play you some stuff. If you liked what you heard, you'd go buy the album. Done.
Yeah.
Poof. You know, now it's like, does this guy have a website? Should I access this song through Twitter or Facebook? You know, oh, here he is on YouTube. And there's, honestly, I think I said this in a couple other podcasts, but I'm not exactly sure that mankind was ready for the internet.
No, man. I mean, I'm not sure, you know, as we do this, and this will be listened to via the internet, I'm not sure that the internet is really good for mankind in the long term. You know, I just feel like ultimately it's detrimental to the human race.
Because they keep the good parts, like, you know, ordering food or
or
looking up, like, you know, who had a hit with whatever in 1957 or whatever. Keep that stuff.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. I don't think you can have the good and the bad, and maybe we'll learn to find like the balance. But I think there are definitely things we're seeing that the internet has brought. You know, like people having a lack of empathy for one another, the internet troll phenomenon, people just being really rude and cruel and cyberbullying, and people talk to each other on the internet, will comment on YouTube videos or anything in a way that they would never talk to you in person.
Of course.
Because they would be afraid, you know, one, they just wouldn't have the balls to do it. Two, they'd be afraid that you're going to slap them in the face.
Right, which could happen.
Yeah. But with the anonymity that the internet provides, people can just be as gross as they want to be.
Well, it's not just that either. It's whatever your viewpoint is, you can cement it because you can go straight for other people that think the same thing. You can convince yourself that there's a quorum of idiots who all believe this one thing. You know, like for instance, the Hillary Clinton child sex ring from a pizza parlor thing.
Which on the surface sounds so logical.
Yeah, or the fact that everybody who's disappeared under the Clintons, she has managed to somehow kill them without getting caught. And I'm like, damn, this lady is Lex Luthor. We should have elected her. You know, we'd have ruled the world in a year instead of having the world hate us in a year.
When we have all the world's knowledge available to us at our fingertips,
right.
And yet we still saw how misinformation and collusion from another government and twisted fake news ads and misinformation can mislead people into supporting this moron. I think another detrimental thing with the internet too is the way it's impacted the music industry. I mean, with streaming services kind of replacing physical sales.
No.
I mean, everybody, I think Spotify is how most people are consuming music now.
I think it is.
Yeah, and I did the math for Spotify. For me to make the same amount of money that I would make from selling one CD, so $10, and that's not even taking into account like the money you invest into either the studio you went to record it, the instruments you bought to play on it, or the stuff you invested to record it yourself. not even taking any of that into account. You say $10 for a CD. It takes almost 3,000 streams on Spotify to equal that $10. So I either need somebody, multiple people listen to it reaches 3,000 or 3,000 people listen to a song to equal the same as one person buying a CD. I mean, it's heartbreaking.
Dude, I don't envy any musician right now who wants to make a living making music.
Yeah.
I don't envy you because it used to be that some of the cards were stacked against you. Now it seems like all the cards are stacked against you. I mean, in order for you to make any money at all, it seems to me like you'd have to be a road dog. You have to just get on the road and never get off the road and hope that being on the road was enough.
Yeah, and you got to hope that there's enough people to come see you, that you have enough of a following. And I mean, you see that with bigger acts, where they just have to tour constantly.
Right.
It's the only way they can even make money. Even if you're John Mayer or whoever, you got to go out on tour every year.
Sure. I mean, I look at someone like Steely Dan. I'm like thinking, do they really need the money? I bet they're probably, okay. And yet all of a sudden now they're like touring like, like the Turtles at the State Fair. They're like every year comes Steely Dan. Boom, 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 boom,
I mean, Fleetwood Mac still going even without Lindsey Buckingham. They got to keep going. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking. And then the guy, the CEO and founder of Spotify, this guy who I think he's Swedish, but the dude is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And in an interview, I saw this interview where he said when he was called out on how little they share profits with the actual artists and content creators, bands, musicians on Spotify. He goes, well, they shouldn't be making music for money. They shouldn't be in it for the money. They should be doing it for the love. I'm like, the fucking audacity of this guy that's making hundreds of millions of dollars.
On love.
Why doesn't he do it for love and share the $100 million with Steely Dan so they can take this summer festival circuit off?
The thing is that the record industry kind of allowed this to happen, and so I don't shed a tear for them at all. The record industry has screwed the artist pretty much from the beginning of the recorded medium. Mm-hmm. It used to be like way back in the old days. I don't know if you know this or not, but like when they used to make 78s, back in the early days, they didn't actually have a way of stamping them out. So what they do is they'd like hire, Bleeding Gums Murphy or whoever it was that they could get.
Yeah.
And he'd come in this like, appliance store in the back room where they had a recorder, and he'd do the same song all day long, over and over and over again. And that's how they used to make multiple records. So if you buy a lot of these old 78s,
so each one has a different take, basically.
Yes, because they didn't have any stampers. So and then this guy would do this. He'd have like blood on his fingers after 10 hours. And they give him $1 and say, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
We own these now. And then you go through like the 50s, all those various doo-wop people, and a lot of the progenitors of rock and roll, they all got ripped off. All of them got ripped off. And a lot of these music people would actually brag about it. They'd go like, yeah, I made millions off that one. I bought him a sandwich.
Yeah.
So the record, I have no.
Yeah, I mean, they've always no sympathy
industry.
for him, but I think if you look at like the 90s or to early 2000s, before the internet, before Napster and all that really impacted it, and the shift to streaming happened, you saw labels that you would get A&R guys going out and they were signing hundreds of bands a year, like 100 bands, and one of them would become a Nirvana or whatever, Goo Goo Dolls. But for every one of those, there was all these little bands that got a shot to make like a nice record with a skilled producer,
right,
with a good engineer in a recording studio, and not just like their mom's laptop in the basement. And they had a shot. They had a little bit of tour support. They got connections, maybe opening for somebody on a national tour. But now it's like you have the guys at the top, and you have everybody else just kind of fighting to be heard.
Yeah. And when all these dinosaur bands are dead, who's going to take their place as far as state fairs and stuff are concerned? Or are you going to start seeing like the legends of rap at the Illinois State Fair every year?
Yeah, I mean, probably, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know who's gonna. There's no one to pass the torch to. It's just gonna be. I mean, you'll have Coldplay. You'll have that last wave of like '90s. You'll have Coldplay, Foo Fighters, Pearl Jam, and they'll inherit that throne. And then after those guys, I don't know. I don't know who will be left. There's nobody to really.
Imagine Ice-T at like 80, still. I saw James Brown like one of the last times.
I can't imagine Ice-T now after he went from cop killer to playing a cop on Law and Order. That's where it all, yeah.
I saw James Brown like a year before he died, and he, I didn't want to. I went to see the Jayhawks, and Lucinda Williams was there, so I was like, look, I don't want to have that vision of James Brown in my head, so we're going to leave before he comes on. And one of the guys who was with us got sick, so he was like, we couldn't move him, and he was just like, just let me lay here. So we ended up staying for James Brown.
Okay.
He'd come out and do like 2 songs, and then he'd like, someone else gonna do one for you, and then he'd like wander off, and you'd see him sucking on this oxygen mask while one of the background singers would sing a song. He'd come back out, he'd do a song or 2. Someone else gonna do a song for you, and then he'd like go back and suck on the oxygen. I mean, he was giving it all he could.
Yeah.
He really was, but it was sad. Now, on the other hand, like around 1980 or 81, my stepdad, the crazy one with all the drugs.
The one that would take pictures of his poops.
That guy, yes.
That guy, yeah.
He took me and all my buddies to see Jerry Lee Lewis at a supper club in Indianapolis. And then he got us drunk, even though we were all underage. He was like, there was like 4 of us on one table, and then him and my mom were on another table.
Uh-huh.
And every time the waiter would go by, he'd go, hey, send some beers over to those cats. He kept calling us cats. And so we were like laughing all night. And he's like, send some beers over to those cats, She was showing off, trying to show off. We didn't care. We were like 18, 19 years old, and we're drinking beer in public. We don't care.
Yeah.
And so anyway, at that time, I thought Jerry Lee Lewis was old. Looking back on it now, he was younger than I am now, And he was fucking hot. He was rocking. He was like kicking the chair and jumping on everything. And, I think to myself, now that's the time to. I strictly adhere to the theory of there's a time to see somebody, and there's a time to just let them pass.
I feel very fortunate. I got to see, speaking of that, I saw Tom Petty's second to last show ever at the Hollywood Bowl.
I saw him a couple years before at the Hollywood Bowl.
I thought he was amazing still. I mean, he hit every note. They played all the hits. I thought it was great, and I couldn't believe that he passed like less than 2 weeks from when I saw him.
Now, you moved to Atlanta. You started a band. These guys, did all these guys come back to Los Angeles with you?
So my original guitar player, Taylor, he was in the first lineup of Faithless Town in Atlanta. He lives out here now, he's in the current lineup of Faithless Town. But Faithless Town's we've had at least 20 different band members over the 10 years that the band's been making music. So kind of at any given time, the lineup can be different.
Like the King Crimson of all country.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're the Fripp.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. Well, here's the thing. I stopped doing extra work around. Okay, I moved here in 2001. I moved back to Indianapolis in 2011. For the last 2.5 to 3 years that I was here, I did not do much, if any, extra work. Well, one is I got that job with the Marines out in the desert. And you didn't know anything about this, right?
You're with the actual Marines, or was this a film production?
Right after you left.
Okay, yeah.
There was the writer's strike. Remember they were talking about that writer's strike was coming?
And it came.
Not only did it come, but it just took everything with it.
Yeah, everything just came to a halt.
Well, here's what it was. Remember you used to work as an extra, you'd show up on set, and you'd go to the holding and look around, and you may not know everybody, but you've seen everybody in that room at one time or another, right?
Yeah.
After the writer's strike, I worked on a show that took place in a roller derby. There was like 400 people there. Yeah. I didn't know a single person.
It was all new folks?
All new, because that writer's strike, so many people just moved back home or just gave up.
Yeah.
It was like a whole new crowd after that. I stopped doing extra. I signed a confidentiality agreement, so everything I'm about to tell you, I'm going to eventually cut out. So when you listen to this later and it's not there, that's why. I had to sign a confidentiality agreement because I lived in Tom's house for almost a year.
What?
The one that he used to live in.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep.
I lived in that house for almost a year.
As like his assistant, or what were you doing?
Assistant.
Vice assistant.
And it was the worst period of time in my life.
How did you get this job? I mean,
a weird series of events starting at this house right here.
So he let her have the rights to the song.
She owns the back. Yes. Take it back to her room. She'd go, okay, and she'd sign it.
I want to go ride by it.
You can look it up.
Yeah.
It's
what part is okay?
Particular years. There are so many references in Boulevard, which is basically we're blocks away from John Wayne's old house.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm telling you that for about 9 months, I was about as miserable as I've ever been. No, I was as miserable as I've ever been hours a week.
Jesus.
I was taking home.
I mean, that's nice, good money.
Yeah. It got me out of some debt.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I got cancer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, while I was there. And I didn't have insurance. So a lot of it disappeared with that. And that's why I had to move back to Indiana. Because basically, not having insurance and having cancer, it's a bad combination.
Yeah, it's a bad combo.
It's bad, man. Yeah.
How are you now?
I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I was just like broke. You know,
yeah.
I couldn't. And also, the same week that I found out that I had cancer, my car blew up. And I found out that there was no more work for me at the law office because I'd finished all the files. So basically, in 1 week, I got cancer, lost my job, and lost my car. Like all in 1 week.
Sounds like you had a crazy ride after
Man,
I left.
No shit.
Yeah, and I went to Atlanta. I quickly, I started dating like a 19-year-old girl. That was crazy. I was 25. Her dad actually was an incredible blues musician.
Really?
Who this guy would play. I think he was signed to Capricorn Records for a minute back in the day, which was like the Allman Brothers were on. He would play this chicken coop. He used to be the drummer in the band, but then he started. He built this makeshift chicken coop with all kinds of percussive elements on it. And he would play that as a percussive instrument and sing.
Did you get him to play on any of your songs?
No, and unfortunately he's passed. But one of the most soulful performers I've ever seen.
That would have been good.
Yeah, Donnie McCormick, this amazing blues musician. That was the cool thing about Atlanta, was there was some cool like real blues roadhouse places that I had never really been to. Having grown up in Pennsylvania and then living out here, I'd never really gone to like one of these authentic kind of like blues joints before. But Atlanta had a couple. The North Side Tavern was one, and another one was called Darwin's. And that guy Donnie would play at both of them. So I got exposed to that cool kind of, great blues and Americana down there. Played music. Got to open for a couple big name people like Chris Knight. Got to open for Jake Clements from the E Street Band. Yeah, that was like right before I left Atlanta, maybe 2015 or 14. I was really stoked. I was hoping that Springsteen was going to be in the audience because Jake would do his own side gig shows when he would have a day off from the E Street Band tour. So they had played the night before at some big, like the big outdoor amphitheater in Atlanta with Springsteen, and the next day he was going to play his side gig with his band at this little place, Smithsonian Bar, and so we got to open for him there. So I'm like, maybe Springsteen's going to come and check out his, check out his boys' set. But I didn't see Springsteen.
He's probably just watching porn at the hotel or something.
I read his biography or his autobiography. I don't even think Springsteen watches porn.
Dude,
he doesn't do drugs. He doesn't smoke cigarettes.
When he gets to the point where he's sitting at Clarence Clemens' bedside, I was just like, oh God.
I have to say, I love Springsteen so much, but that was such a boring read. Maybe it was because I just read...
You're talking about his autobiography?
His autobiography.
I read one of the biographies that came out like a year before.
Yeah, I
heard his was kind of a dry read.
Yeah, he's got beautiful prose. He's an incredible writer. I love Springsteen's music. I love his lyrics. His writing style, his beautiful prose and narrative, but it's just the content. This guy... I just come off from reading this Led Zeppelin biography, and then the Alice in Chains one, and then the Elvis one,
right.
And then to go from that to Springsteen, there's no drugs, there's hardly any sex in it.
I know.
It's just I don't know. It kind of made rock and roll not cool. I was like,
I know. Well, let me.
Yeah.
In '78. My best friend gives me a call and he goes, "Hey, I got my driver's license. My mom says I can use the car tonight. You want to do something?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, let's do something." So we're looking in the paper, finding something to do, and Springsteen was playing that night. We're like, "Well, hey, let's go to that." I said, "Okay, cool." So we go down. This is '78. Darkness on the Edge of Town has not come out yet. It's right before it was going to come out, and so we go, we buy tickets at the door.
Mm-hmm.
We notice that the venue has been cut in half. Apparently he didn't sell very many tickets, so they took this fake wall and ran it down the middle and cut the place in half. We got like 6th row. And we just bought tickets day of the show, and it was like $5. So we get up there, we're sitting down there, and we're pretty green. Up to this point, I've only seen like maybe 8 to 10 shows. And they were all like what I would call Hello Cleveland shows.
Did you have Born to Run?
Oh yeah,
okay.
That was a big record for me.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there, and like I say, all we've ever seen, we've seen like Kiss, Blue Oyster Cult, Styx, all these like Hello Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And so he comes out, and I've got no reference point for what I'm watching. I'm seeing this dude who's like, I can't keep track of him because he's all over the place. He's up, he's down, he's over, he's climbing stuff, he's running around, he's sliding on his knees. And then I'm like going, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And, and he basically rocks our ass off. I mean, like nothing to this day, like nothing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He mumbles something like, oh God! And it's off. And so we're getting our stuff, and this hippie next to us goes, "Hey man, where are you going?" We're like, "Well, we're taking off, right?" And he goes, "No, man, it's just the intermission. Didn't you hear him say he's going to be right back?" And we're like, "Intermission? What's an intermission? We've never seen anybody with an intermission before." So about 10, 15 minutes later, he comes back out. He does it all again. He plays for like another hour and a half, running around, climbing shit, sliding on his knees, telling the story about the bears and the UFOs and the shit. And we're like going, holy fucking shit, what is this? And then he comes out and does Encore 10th Avenue Freeze Out.
Yeah.
And he brings 2 strippers from the Red Garter Lounge down the street to dance on top of the amps on both sides.
Oh, man.
So we're like teenagers. We're 16 years old. We're seeing naked girls and Bruce Springsteen from the 6th row. We're like going, best night ever.
Fuck. So jealous.
Best night ever. And that's sort of like a legendary show. When he came back to Indianapolis many years later, he goes, "Yeah, Clarence was at the Red Garter again."
I mean, the guy still is full of energy.
Yeah.
I mean, I caught him a couple years back in Atlanta, and I mean, he's stage diving. He's got to be 60 now, right?
Yeah.
He's running out. He stage dives. The crowd carries him back.
He's pretty ripped.
Yeah, carries him on his back as he's. I guess not drinking or smoking your whole life, living like a monk.
Sure.
It has longevity. It pays off in that respect. But yeah, phenomenal, man. Probably the greatest living live performer, in my opinion. One of the greatest.
Yeah, it's still the best show I've ever seen. Bar none.
Phenomenal.
And I've seen him several times since then, and they were good because it was new. It was something I hadn't seen yet. Mm-hmm. All I'd seen was, what was the normal rock stuff of the day. And this was different. The same with like Born to Run. Didn't sound like Kiss Alive.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like The Grand Illusion. It didn't sound like Blue Oyster Cult. It sounded like something I didn't have a reference point for.
You just gotta love somebody that gets up there and just pours every ounce of themselves into it, and just has that element of like, what the fuck's gonna happen next, and that element of danger. I hate when you see somebody live, like a band you like, and you see them live and they sound good, but they just kind of just stand there. Like, I love the Strokes, but the Strokes are so boring live. Like, they literally just go play it by the numbers.
I've never seen them
live. Dude hangs on to the mic stand.
I've never seen them live, but when they were on Saturday Night Live the first time, they were all jumping around.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I got to see him right before that album dropped. I was like second row in Pittsburgh. And yeah, I was just kind of surprised. I thought it was kind of boring. And then all like videos that I've seen. But it's a phenomenal band. The guy's a great songwriter. Killer guitar players. But yeah, I like to have that Springsteen work ethic when it comes to our live shows. I really try to throw myself into it. And more times than I'd like to recount that I've seriously kind of fucked myself up. I've been fortunate enough to not break any bones, but I've had some bruised knees. I've jumped off, drum risers, jumped off amps. I've done some stupid shit, and fortunately I haven't, fortunately I'm not paralyzed, Yeah.
The last band I saw was Black Sabbath. They were great.
Yeah.
They were great. It was. I don't go to live shows so much anymore because my ears really have sort of taken a pounding over the years. I still got some tinnitus going on, so I pick and choose what shows I go to. I only go to maybe 2 or 3 a year now.
Yeah.
I used to go like once or twice.
Dude, I wear earplugs all the time.
See, that's no fun for me. It's like wearing a condom. It's like I'm happy I'm fucking, but I'm wearing a condom. It's the same with like. When I'm at a show, I'm happy I'm at the show, but the thrill for me is having it pounded into my head. If
you're not getting hearing damage, it's not
I already
fun.
have it. Yeah. The last time I saw Slayer, they were so loud that certain bass notes were producing enough wind to catch my hair and move it back. They're like, and my hair go like that. Now that's what I like.
It probably moved internal organs with those frequencies.
I think I lost a couple of kidney stones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just pulverized and just came right out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, man. The tinnitus it's serious. We played a little club in Echo Park a couple months ago, man, and I had ringing in my ear for days afterward. I've since now been trying to. I graduated to in-ear monitors, so I've been trying to get used to wearing those, so you can hear yourself, but it's protecting you from the incredible decibel range of the live band and cymbal hits and all that.
Have you ever left a show because it was too loud?
No, I attending a show.
Yeah.
No, I'll go in the bathroom and I will make earplugs for myself if I don't have them with toilet paper.
I've done it twice.
I will plug up my ears.
Well, I bet if I tell you who it was, you won't care. First time was Ted Nugent.
Okay.
And I was just like, it was 1978. It was a Christmas concert. There was a bunch of loud stuff before him.
Yeah.
But then when he came on, it wasn't just loud, but it was drenched in treble. And you know how he plays.
Yeah.
Politics notwithstanding, I like some of his old stuff. Because I was a certain age when it came out.
Yeah,
and it did rock.
Yeah.
I got to give credit where credit is due.
Sometimes you got to separate the man from the artist.
Not sometimes, all the time.
Yeah.
You have to.
You all the time. I agree with that.
You have to.
People find it very difficult, especially right now.
Chuck Berry wasn't that nice of a person, but I'm not going to take away anything from his catalog because of it.
Yeah.
Jerry Lee Lewis quite possibly killed one of his wives, but a whole lot of shaking going on is always going to be a song I'm going to love. So,
I know, and see now people can't do that. I know it's the controversy, but people, as soon as somebody's been labeled like an asshole or a bad person, or people write off everything they ever did.
Internet justice.
It's like they almost want to go in, they want to take like Kevin Spacey out of every movie he's ever done. Like computer generate somebody else over him in like 7 or Usual Suspects.
I understand there are people upset with what these people have done.
Absolutely,
I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
And they shouldn't have done it. And but before the internet, people were still doing this shit, and they got away with it and were able to still earn a living. Now, I'm not saying that Kevin Spacey should get a raise or anything, but I am saying that House of Cards without Kevin Spacey just sounds unwatchable to me.
I've never seen an episode of House of Cards.
I love that show, and I'll say the same as far as was it Transparent? Transparent without Jeffrey Tambor?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I think Tambor has been able to survive. I think.
I heard they taking him off the show.
So, but he's the star of the show.
I know. So Kevin Spacey's the star of the...
Well, I heard they're going to do that with Roseanne, too.
Yeah, reboot it without her?
It's like maybe it'll just be Jackie. It'll just be about her sister and the family.
It doesn't sound like a good idea, but it's not my money.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But, yeah,
you got to separate the man or woman from the art that they made.
Yeah, you have to.
Michael Jackson seemed like a weirdo. All the stuff with the kids, who knows? The jury's still out on it. But does it change the fact that Thriller's a great album? No. That shit is amazing. Off the Wall is amazing.
See, I'm not going to follow you down that path because I hated those records. But
how about the Jackson 5? Will you give me the Jackson 5
I love
at
the
least?
Jackson 5, sure.
All right.
For me, like Van Morrison is supposed to be one of the biggest assholes on the face of the earth, and yet the guy writes the most beautiful music, delicate, touching, make you fucking cry every time you listen to it music, and yet he's a fucking troll. So I never got around to telling you the Marine job.
Yeah, Marine job.
You left right before that became a thing, right?
Yeah.
But you never heard about it?
That's news to me. No, I don't know anything about the Marine job.
Okay, right around the time of the writer's strike, there started to be these rumblings about another job out in the desert. And everyone's like going, out in the desert? What do you mean? They're shooting a movie out in the desert? The Army's making a movie? What's going on? I mean, finally, the word came down. They built a fake Iraqi village out in the middle of the desert.
Okay.
29 Palms. And they would hire about 500 or 600 of us for about 3 or 4 days. And they'd take us out in the middle of the desert, and we would live out there for 3 or 4 days and let the Marines practice like shooting us and arresting us.
What the fuck?
And,
are you serious?
Yeah. And
no, was this the confidentiality, or can you talk about this? Is this going to make it?
I think I might have signed something, but I don't care about this so much because
it's just the government. It's
now,
not Ben's ex-wife.
Yes. Imagine.
It's just the military.
Imagine a village made out of shipping containers, like you see out on the docks. They take them, they cut windows out of them, they line them with wood so that we would not roast in the sun, and then no electricity, no running water. This is where Noodles ran over my foot because we were on our way out to 29 Palms. He was picking me up at my house, and he literally ran over my foot with his car. But even better, you're going to love this. Since there was no running water, we had this giant tank in the middle of town. And it had like 6 or 7 spigots on it, and that's where you'd go fill your canteen or fill whatever your water needs was. Somebody caught Noodles washing his balls underneath one of the spigots. He had the spigot on, he was holding his nutsack underneath the flow of water where people get drinking water. And so the Marines caught him, and he ran away naked into the desert.
So this was a big Marine training operation for these guys that are going to get deployed to the Middle East, in Iraq or Afghanistan, most likely, and to train them on how to deal with the civilian population there.
Exactly. And so they would dress us up. They would give us ID. My name was Zeke Bazil.
This sounds horrible, by the way. This sounds like that experiment.
Paid really well.
Sounds like that experiment where they took a group and half of them were prisoners and the other half were prison guards. Like, were people getting were people violated or beat up?
Nobody got beat up or anything. And they had these bullets that were like chalk that would like dissipate when it hit you and just like leave a little chalk mark. if you got shot. I'll tell you, the most surprising thing for me was how smelly tanks are. Because if you have some tank parked next to your hooch while you're trying to sleep, not only is it so loud you fucking can't hear Slayer over it, but the diesel fumes just fill up your hooch, and you're just like, ugh.
But and you had no electricity.
No.
So for
No
3 nights
water.
you're out there.
Basically, it's camping in the desert with scorpions and rattlesnakes and kangaroo rats.
Men and women.
Yes. And then, like I say, they would practice arresting you. Every once in a while, they had these bomb belts that were made out of flour sacks. These sacks of flour, and you'd wear them
Underneath something.
And then you'd try to get in the middle of a crowd of people going like this, and whoever had flour on them had to lay there like they were dead, and the Marines had to come in and deal with them and stuff. So basically, you lived out there for 3 or 4 days.
It's unbelievable.
No running.
I mean, it makes
no
sense
running sewer either. It was all those outhouses that sort of fill up.
Oh man.
And
yeah.
You ready for the worst story ever?
Yeah. Lay it on me.
The first time they didn't know how quickly those portalets were going to fill up, and in the village I was staying at, the poop came up past the seat,
past the seat, past the rim.
It was like a poo mountain.
Oh.
And people were like putting their feet on the seat and squatting over it and just basically just adding to this pile of
poop mountain.
Poop mountain, yes. And finally this guy goes, "God damn it, I've had enough of this!" And he grabbed a couple of garbage bags and he put the garbage bags over the top of the toilet, and then with 2 hands he pushed the poop mountain down until it made this concave bowl of poop underneath the seat, and that's where people continued to use for the next day or 2.
That's so bad. So I hope that was a really good paying gig.
It was. It paid really well, and it was more fun than it sounds like it would be, because you're out in the desert, which was kind of nice. You kind of get out of the city for a while, and you don't realize how many stars you're not seeing in the sky until you get to somewhere where you see all of them.
There's just no light pollution out there.
And they're bright.
Yeah.
And that was kind of nice. I almost stepped on a rattlesnake at one point, and the only thing that saved me was he already had a kangaroo rat in his mouth. Because, my foot was over it, and I heard the rattle, and I looked down, and I did this massive lurch backwards.
I've thought about buying land out there in the desert. You can get some cheap land out there by 29
There's
pounds.
a reason. Yeah. I got caught in a sandstorm at one point. And, sandstorms, they don't sound like much, but this sandstorm was so bad that they had this guy go through the village with a loudspeaker telling us not to leave our hooches. Because the sandstorm was so... There were no windows, by the way, so anything that's happening outside happens inside. You'd sleep, and you'd wake up completely covered in sand. Get up, flip all your shit, flip it over, get back, half hour later, you're covered again. All night long.
It sounds pretty rough. But
it
so
was.
Good paying gig. So you did this for how long? This was just
about
a
2
week?
years.
You did, they were doing
this?
It
wasn't every weekend. It was usually every third or every fourth weekend.
Wow.
And that's what got me through the writer's strike.
Gotcha.
If it hadn't been that and Craigslist free. You ever go to Craigslist and go to the free stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Man, especially in this town, people who have to move quickly. From this one dude, I got a set of really nice seasoned walks. Some baseball bats, some kitchen stuff, and then this other woman I got a hold of, she had a job working for Obama's campaign, and she had to leave the next day. She was like, "Could you please just take everything?" She was like, "Open her fridge." She's like, "Here, just take all this food out of the cabinet, just take everything." And between that and working for the Marines is how I got through.
By.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then you did that and then I guess after the writer's strike, did you do background again?
I did background up until about 2009 or so.
Remember, I saw you on the superhero movie, that Leslie Nielsen superhero parody. That's actually how I found you on Facebook, because I think we kept in contact maybe on MySpace when that was a thing.
Yeah, I don't remember my password for MySpace, so I can't even delete it.
I went on there recently because a friend of mine was like, she used to be a music manager, and she was like, oh, you should get back on MySpace. It's becoming a thing again, which it's not. But I did have to like build a whole new profile at Faithless Town and put all that new stuff up there.
It was barely a thing when it was a thing.
I guess. I don't know, man. I mean, it was a thing
for
like 2
time,
years.
Though?
2-3 years.
Do you remember that MySpace time? It was
yeah.
Hey man, are you on MySpace?
Absolutely.
Oh
yeah.
Woo.
I think you were one of my top friends.
Yeah.
Like you're top 5 or whatever. But yeah, so I saw you as an extra on that superhero movie. I'm watching. It's like on TV late at night in Atlanta, and I'm like, holy shit! It's like you almost doing like a spit take or something.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my god, it's Tony. So I looked you up, and then here we are. We
I did
on Facebook a couple years ago.
I did a bunch of extra work after you were gone. I mean, did you ever see me in the Onion movie?
I don't even know what that is. I saw you in Constantine with
Okay,
Keanu Reeves.
Constantine's nice, but I got my first SAG voucher on this thing called the Onion movie, and I got a call. And it was like close to Christmas, so there was no work.
Yeah.
And I was desperate. And they said, hey, how would you like to earn your first SAG voucher? I was like, yeah, sign me up. They said, okay, you're going to be working on the Onion movie. Are you familiar with the Onion? I said, the online newspaper. They said, yeah. I said, yeah, I'm familiar with it. They said, well, we've got you down here as someone with a pretty good sense of humor, and that's what they're looking for. I was like, oh, yeah, I've been told I'm a funny guy, sure. And she says, okay, you're playing a penis victim, and you got to be there at like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, I'm sorry, what was that again? She goes, you're playing a penis victim. And I'm like, huh. So what does that entail exactly? And she goes, oh, I'm not sure, but
you'll find out tomorrow.
I'm sure
you'll find out.
I'm like, okay. So I get there the next day.
Yeah.
I get there and the PA walks up. She goes, are you our penis guy? And I was like, yeah. She goes, oh, great. You're going to work out great. She says, follow me. I was all right. I said, hey, by the way, can you tell me what I'm going to be doing? She says, oh, no, it's really funny. You'll like it. Okay, now that's 2 people now who've not told me directly the question that I've asked. Okay, that's 2. She takes me to the wardrobe lady. She goes, penis guy? I go, yeah, it's our penis guy. And she goes, oh, great. She says, what you're wearing's fine. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, do you know what I'm doing? She goes, no, I'm not sure, but I'm sure it'll be funny. It'll be funny, you'll like it. And I'm like, all right, okay. So they take me to set.
Uh-huh.
And I'm supposed to pretend that I've been fucking a mail slot in front of this office and that I've got my penis stuck in this mail slot. And there are 2 competing penis removal systems competing to get me out. Well, one of them was like, penis be gone, and the other one was like, here today, cock tomorrow, or whatever the funny names they
Here's
had.
your big moment. This is your big acting moment.
So I have to stand up against this door like this, hands spread like this, and pretend like my cock is stuck in this mail slot. The director comes over and goes, okay, he says, I want you to lean against this wall here like this. So he says, now pretend that you're stuck in there. Pretend like you're trying to pull it out. I said, okay, fine, that's great. I can do this. This is fine. And he says, okay. Now there's me against this door, a couple police officers and penis removal people next to their vans, and about 40 people in a semicircle right behind me looking at me. They're getting ready to shoot it, and the director goes, okay, drop them.
He wants you to pull your pants down in front of everybody. Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And the guy said, drop your pants.
Now, was the mailbox in front of you, that's going to be covering up your junk, right?
No. You see my ass. I'm up against this wall, mail slide on a door of a business.
Okay. Gotcha. So I mean, the front half is going to be obscured by because you're leaning against.
But they want bare ass cheeks.
They want bare ass cheeks.
And here's the thing is, they haven't told me they want bare ass cheeks until 30 seconds before we're going to shoot.
And you don't know how much extra money you're going to get for doing this.
Well, that's the thing is that I said, wait a minute, nobody said anything about this.
Yeah.
And if somebody had said something about it a day or 2 ago when I got booked on this, it would have given me enough time to wrap my head around it and go like, okay, fine. But you're popping it on me like you're trying to force me into doing something I might not want to do. And you're trying to steamroll me into doing this, and I don't like the way this feels.
Yeah.
And the director goes, okay, look, we'll give you extra money. And I was like, how much extra money? He goes, I don't know, but you'll like it. I'm going, again with the non-answers, okay? So...
It hasn't been true. You don't like the situation you're in.
Well, no, I thought it was mildly funny.
Yeah, right.
And I'm okay with it. And like I said, I told him, I said, look, I said, you probably won't be surprised at the long list of people that don't want to see my ass. So, and thankfully, I wore kind of a funny pair of boxer shorts that day because I thought, just in case something happened, I was
You're the penis guy.
Yeah. So finally, after some back and forth, they just let me do it with my boxers.
Well, okay.
And if you ever see the Onion movie, there I am, right up against
Fucking
the wall,
slot.
fucking a mail slot. But it was stuff like that. I understand that the extras or the background are not exactly, the front of house players. I get that. But like when I worked on Fun with Dick and Jane and Jeff Garland, you know who Jeff Garland is. His,
from Curb, he plays Larry's manager.
Well, his
stand-up comedian.
His body double didn't show up one night, so the PA comes back. He goes, "All right, who's the fattest person here?" And then, without waiting, he points at me. He goes, "Okay, hey, you, come with me." No, that's fine.
Yeah,
I'm a big dude. I've come to terms with it.
Yeah.
Couldn't he have just come over and said, "Hey, would you like to earn some extra money?"
Absolutely.
As a stand-in. Follow me.
Absolutely.
There were things like that happened every once in a while that really bothered me with the job. It wasn't like I was asking for a mountain of respect.
Yeah.
But if you just treated me like a person, I'd be perfectly happy.
You know what? I think that's changed because of because the climate of things right now. I think people are definitely more sensitive. And
because you're still doing some background work, right?
I still do it. I've been doing stand-in work, photo doubling work. I stood in for James Franco for a month on a feature. I got to meet Robert Duvall, which was pretty awesome. Started my morning by helping Robert Duvall onto the back of a flatbed truck.
All right, so one day I'm working on Big Love. And there's this old guy hunched over the Keurig machine. He can't figure out the cups and the handle and the button. He's just not getting it. And I want my coffee. I need my caffeine.
You need your coffee in the morning.
So I said, here, let me help you with that. I said, here. I said, is this the coffee you want? He goes, yeah. I said, just pop it in here like that, shut the lid. I said, 10 ounces, push the button, poof, you're done. And he's like, oh, thank you, young man. Like, hey, turns out it's fucking Harry Dean Stanton.
Nice.
You're like, that's what I enjoyed about it. I'm not a star fucker in any
but sometimes you meet people that are really cool and people that you admire. Yeah, absolutely.
Like when I worked on whatever that Rush Hour 3 or 4 or whatever the fuck it was just cool to be in the same room with Max von Sydow. You're just like going, that's the motherfucking exorcist down there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later, you stand in the same room with Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
That's both sides of the coin right there.
It's pretty rad.
That's what the job is about. Did I ever tell you? I think you were gone at this point. So I'm working on Rush Hour.
Yeah, 3, I was definitely gone by then.
Whatever it was. And, the director's name, I forget his name, but he was... I play the Italian ambassador like a giant UN, and all I do is just sit there behind a little fucking thing that says Italy. Max von Sydow is saying that the triads are getting more daring and they're going to start robbing banks and stealing plutonium or whatever the fuck the triads do, And then he goes in particularly the most dangerous members of the triads is Shai Shen, and this guy stands up and goes, Shai Shen does not exist. And then a whole rumble goes through the room and blah 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 blah, and then I think somebody gets shot.
Right.
Well, I found out later the guy who stands up and says that has been in all the Rush Hour movies. I guess he's like a Brett Ratner. That was the director.
Yeah,
I think he was like a friend of his or a friend of his. It's like he's good luck actor or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, they bring the camera in for the close up. So I'm Brett Ratner sitting in this chair. The camera is like in your face, okay? And I'm like this, and I go, go. You go, Shai Shen does not exist. No, stop, cut again. Shen does not exist. No, stop, cut, again, like this. Like, and he makes this guy yell like Xiao Shen does not exist like 50 or 60 times.
Yeah.
Like just ungodly amount of. So many times if the guy starts getting tongue-tied, he'll say, Shu Shun, Xing Chang, Shou Xia, and he goes, no, Xiao Shen, again! Like this. And you want to cry for this guy. He's like just getting his fucking face yelled at.
But this is the guy he uses in all his movies.
Like a week later, I'm working on the TV show Las Vegas, and I got my tux on. I got my sticks for the dice game and shit. You know, I'm standing there. Well, apparently they were filming some interiors for Rush Hour at the stage next door, and everybody wanted to meet James Caan.
Yep.
Okay, so here comes Brett Ratner, Jackie Chan, and James Caan, and they're walking down the casino. And just as they get past my table, dude, I have this bad habit of sometimes shit will just come flying out of my mouth before I have a chance to say anything. Yeah. And that's why I'm not on Twitter. Okay?
For the best.
So just as they were passing by, I slammed my stick down on the table and I said, Xiao Shen does not exist!
Do they all look back?
Jackie Chan giggled a little bit. He kind of went like that. Brett Ratner looked like he would have shot me in the face if he had a gun. and I was like, oh man, I probably shouldn't have said that. So,
Good times, man. It's always fun. It's always an adventure.
It was easy for me to get in trouble on set because I was always like fucking around. I mean, well, not fucking around in a bad way, but like there was this one guy in this one TV show and he had a hoodie on and we were in this bar. I don't remember what show it was. American Dreams, the one that took place like the 60s or something.
Okay.
And like, while this guy wasn't looking, I like filled his hoodie up with peanut shells. So every time he stood up to walk his cue, peanuts would come flying out of his coat.
You got to find a way to amuse yourself. There's a lot of downtime, so there's you got to do what you got to do to amuse yourself. So we're going to hit the pot store?
30 years of nothing but failure. Lord knows I'm ready to break. Wake up feeling so tired. Go to bed feeling the same way. I had a girl who said she loved me. I broke her heart and I drove her away. Some nights I still think of her. I think about the price I paid. There's gotta be more than this. There's gotta be more than this. Another year older and nowhere closer to where I wanna be. The leaves turn over, my blood runs colder. There must be more for me than the ruins of this broken dream. Every day is wasted motion, working at a job that hardly pays. One of these days I'm gonna lose it. Take the car and drive straight away. dream don't come true. It's still something from deep in your soul. Leave some kind of dark secret wound. There's gotta be more than this. There's gotta be